Morning, everyone. Thank you for being here. My name is Siddhartha Sanchez. I'm the Executive Director of the Bronx River Alliance. Um, as you can see from the table behind me, last week, Governor Hochul and the New York State Department of Transportation released nearly 6,000 pages of an environmental assessment for the Cross Bronx Five Bridges project. All of this right before the holidays. As we all know, families are preparing to celebrate several major holidays, including Thanksgiving, Hanukkah, Christmas, and New Year's. Meanwhile, New York City students are about to begin their longest winter break ever, nearly 2 full weeks out of school. With the holiday season upon us and families taking the weekends to recharge in between, the current review period leaves the Bronx with only 31 weekdays to meaningfully engage. This review timeline simply doesn't allow enough time for residents to help shape this once-in-a-generation project. In particular, working families, the backbone of our South Bronx communities, deserve a real opportunity to weigh in on the future of the Cross Bronx after enduring nearly 70 years of sickness and toxic emissions because of the expressway. We acknowledge and appreciate Governor Hochul and Commissioner Dominguez's commitment to equity and planning with our communities. The Spanish interpretation services and virtual meeting option baked into the review process show good faith. Now we're asking the governor and state DOT to extend that commitment, and grant a 90-day public comment period starting after the holidays, as well as adding a more well-timed public hearing. The Bronx is ready to plan with the state on the future of the Cross Bronx. I'd like to introduce you to some of our coalition members representing several Bronx groups as well as citywide advocacy groups. But first, we'd like to pass the mic over to State Senator Gustavo Rivera, health champion and respected state representative.
Thank you, Siddhartha, and good morning to everybody. Look, I'll be quick. What we're saying here is that let's just consider two things. The first of all, the organizations that are here, whether it's the Bronx River Alliance, Transportation Alternatives, Riders Alliance, Open Plans, to Point CDC, etc., organizations that represent so many working class New Yorkers who have been tirelessly organizing for decades to make sure that we can make the conditions of Bronx sites better. And we're talking about folks that have been organizing around the fact that nearly 7 decades of harm have been caused to the communities that we live in, and that we all can collectively represent and work for. And so, because all of this time and all this effort has been put towards making sure that we get to this point where we have a governor who, thankfully, in good faith, has come forward and said we're looking to change the conditions here. Let's make sure we get it right. We're just asking for more time. We're asking for 90 days to make sure that all the input that's necessary can go into the process so we can make sure that we get it right. If we've had 7 decades of harm done to these communities, we can wait for a few months to start the process so then we can get all the input necessary to get the best output necessary. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Really appreciate your position on this. Next up, want to invite Ben Furness from Transportation Alternatives to share some remarks.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Ben Furness. I'm the Executive Director of Transportation Alternatives. I'm really proud to be joining this coalition of folks asking for a simple thing, which is that we have enough time, folks in the Bronx have enough time, all of us, to give input and comments on this $900 million incredibly important piece of infrastructure. There's an enormous amount of opportunity to, in the course of this process, improve connectivity across the neighborhoods in the Bronx, and we want to have the time to get it right. So let's not have a timeline that might have been designed by the Grinch to steal Christmas. Let's give our families the 90 days that we need to get this project right. Really appreciate the governor and state DOT being open to this, and really look forward to a high quality process going forward, ones that Bronx and New Yorkers deserve. So thanks.
Thanks, Ben. Appreciate that Grinch comment. And next up, we have Danny Pearlstein from the Riders Alliance.
Thank you so much. So wonderful to be here. My name is Danny Pearlstein. I'm the Policy and Comms Director at the Riders Alliance. I live right across the Harlem River. My kids are in school in Washington Heights, right near I-95. And we know with more traffic on the Cross Bronx is more pollution in northern Manhattan as well. You all can see the environmental assessment on the table there. And respectfully, New Yorkers are not reading all that. But when it comes to widening history's most notorious highway, we also can't afford to say, like the meme says, "I'm happy for you, though," or "sorry that happened." No, we need a serious study. And we need a set of alternatives that do not expand the shadow of the Cross Bronx Expressway. We need an end to clever diversions like the canceled diversion structure, which are all but designed to distract from the grave harm to the surrounding neighborhoods and the surrounding boroughs. And instead, the bottom line is we need more, better, and safer options for getting around within and among our communities. Thank you.
Thanks, Danny. Next up, we have Dariela Rodriguez from the Point CDC.
Good morning. I'm Dariela Rodriguez, I'm actually the Director of Community Development at the Point CDC. I guess so many people said things before me. Ben, I'm glad you mentioned the Grinch. I am definitely the Grinch when I don't get to spend my holidays the way they should be spent, which is doing nothing with my family, right? And so, as has been mentioned, we have this incredibly long document that we must, as a team, be able to digest, share with community, be able to like almost translate into language that our community can actually understand and respond to. And we're in a moment of wanting to assume best intentions. We are celebrating being able to move forward in a good direction with the cancellation of option one, and we want to continue to move in that collaborative, working together for the best solutions way, right? So we're asking for some time. It is a lot of information to read and to digest and process. We would really love to give the most intentional, best kind of feedback. So we also are asking for our public meetings to be also considerate of the holidays that are coming up and things that are like just short notice and the amount of time it takes to process this information. So we actually look forward to 2026 being able to talk through all this with our community and to seeing each other, and hopefully we have at least 90 days after the holidays. Thank you.
Thank you, Dariela, for highlighting that collaborative intention at this moment. Next up, we have Adrian Cacho from Open Plans.
Morning, folks. So, name's Adrian Cotro, senior organizer at Open Plans. So, look, I mean, the New York State DOT and Governor Hochul are clearly listening, right? Which means our organizing is working, and we're just going to keep going until our demands are fully met. We demand that our government invest in community alternatives and, of course, right, fulfill the promises of the Reimagine the Cross Bronx Expressway study, rather than expanding the highway's current footprint. None of this happens in a vacuum. We know that our children in the Bronx have some of the highest rates of asthma in the city. We know that our climate crisis is worsening and that our current infrastructure isn't equipped to handle it. I mean, the CBE is constantly flooding as is. So, paving the way for more cars, more traffic, more congestion will only exacerbate these problems and not solve them. So clearly, expansion must not be our default. Now is the time to embrace climate forward policies that will make our communities safer and our air cleaner. And we need to just continue investing in eco-friendly options. And as a coalition, right, united around community connectivity and climate-friendly solutions, we understand what's at stake, and we urge the DOT to continue to take these demands seriously. And of course, right, the decisions made here are going to impact our neighborhoods for generations. So as many folks have said, right, we really, really must get this right. Thank you.
Thank you, Adrian, for emphasizing climate forward solutions as the reason for this extended comment period, and also for your building awareness around this with your following. Next up, I want to invite Karen Argenti from the Bronx Council for Environmental Quality to share a few remarks.
Hi, everybody. Karen Argenti. It's really unfortunate that you decided to publish this document during the largest holiday season of the year. We don't think people are really going to pay much attention to this project during this important family time. And there's not enough time for a New York City community where we have some of the most densest communities in the state. Our community's governance is through the community boards, and we're used to having a ULURP process that follows the environmental review. That is more than 60 days for the community, followed by a month or two for the elected officials. You need to treat us like we're a real town in this state. Finally, the complexity and environmental impacts of this project are huge. Just remember that the impact last Friday when traffic was halted for hours from just one accident. what you are going to do will generate more pollution than what is standard. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. Next up, I want to invite David Abreu from Save the Sound, please.
Thank you, and good morning, everyone. My name is David Abreu. I'm the Clean Water Advocate at Save the Sound. I'm also a co-chair in the Bronx River Alliance's ecology team and a longtime Bronx resident. While Save the Sound is encouraged by New York State DOT's recent actions to align the Five Bridges project to the community concerns and needs echoed by this coalition, really more work is needed to ensure that the local community is aware of the changes that have been made, and are prepared to comment on them. And of course, as everyone has echoed already, has the adequate time to do so. While the more disastrous alternatives of this project are no longer under consideration, the remaining options still widen the expressway, they significantly disturb tree canopy, and will undoubtedly alter the community experience around this corridor for years to come. So to that end, Save the Sound will continue to stand with this coalition and all of the community members in this process, ensuring that the upcoming public hearings and ongoing comment period reflect the concerns of the residents most impacted. Thank you.
Thank you, David, for highlighting the importance of this comment period, and the reality of what is at stake here. Next up, and to close this out, I want to invite Diana Beatriz Bernal from Bronx Outreach to share some remarks.
Thank you so much, Sid. Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Diana, and I work with Bronx Health Reach. And as a community coalition, Bronx Health Reach focuses on implementing community-informed evidence-based strategies to improve nutrition and physical activity, and promotes policy and system changes that lead to community transformation. So the key word being community. And for this reason, it is important to provide Bronxites with enough time to read and analyze the environmental assessment that was recently released, in order for them to voice any concerns they may have and provide input to a project that will affect their quality of life now, as well as those of future generations. So a public review period during the busiest holiday season, where people take time to be with their families, doesn't provide enough time to do this. And the fact that public hearings will be taking place within a week in early December makes it unfeasible for the community to read and digest a 6,000-page report. And to prepare for the hearing and to make time to be available for those hearings. So it is for these reasons we're asking Governor Hochul and the New York State DOT to have a 90-day public comment period and to add better timed public meetings. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Diana. I appreciate your involvement in this coalition. In closing, we want to look forward to working with our state officials to review the remaining repair options for the Cross Bronx Expressway and to lead a successful, equitable Cross Bronx Five Bridges project. Thank you all for joining us today.
Please, just a moment. We're going to invite Councilmember-elect Justin Sanchez to speak. So thank you. You can unmute at the moment.
Good morning, everyone. It's good to be with all of you, and I'm thankful to Senator Gustavo Rivera for being here with us and helping to lead this charge. The Cross Bronx Expressway is been a blight of environmental justice on our communities, and I was elected with an opportunity to bring transparency and accountability to government. And what this extension of this public comment period will do is just add that transparency and that accountability to keep our government running and keep our government functioning and show the members of the South Bronx and the residents of the Bronx that we truly understand and care about the input about what our communities go through and face. And so I applaud Kathy Hochul and really looking to find equitable solutions, but I'm asking for the governor and for our state partners to really allow us the opportunity to make these public comments, to make sure that we're getting our feedback from our community and showing that community voices truly matter in the conversations about what we face on a daily basis. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Councilmember-elect. Really appreciate you leading on this and taking a position on this. And you hit it right on the head by emphasizing the impact that the Cross Bronx has had on this community, the community that you'll be representing. Just want to open it up to questions from reporters.
For press, yes, thanks. If you could follow Dave's lead and raise your Zoom hand, that's how we'll go about this. Dave, we'll take your question.
Hi guys. So I'm just curious. You want more time to review. The draft EA has three possibilities in it. I think the state has been pretty clear, before the EA came out. So is there something new that you want to see as an alternative, or is it just a matter of getting to the point where you either want the pedestrian path next to the highway, or you just want the project without that entirely?
I give a quick response on this, and I know that the advocates will have more. We don't know yet. That's precisely the point. It is a 6,000 page document. And again, I was glad that Siddhartha printed the damn thing. They apparently brought it to him on a crate. This is not a joke. It's like we need the time to go through it. Now, the thing is that the process whereby we go about doing this is certainly reading the entire report, right? Taking chunks of it that are particular to some of the organizations that have specialties here, or on transportation, or on parks, or on health, etc., and then having internal discussions about what would be the best way to respond to all of this. Takes time. That's the bottom line, bro. We're just saying we need time, and we're not going to have it now. I mean, I don't know about you, but I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to bring to my friend's Thanksgiving thing on Thursday. And I know Thursday I'm going to be, I'm going to be both, filled up with turkey and drunk. So I'm not going to be reading any report. Neither are these folks. That's the point.
Yeah, we don't know what's in there besides the broad strokes. I would just add, and so we're worried about obviously air quality, noise, water quality, and impacts of stormwater, as well as the broader impact of construction on the community. And we don't know what's been included and what hasn't been included in the EA because we haven't had the time to review it. But yeah, thank you.
Any other questions from press at the moment? Karen, were you hoping to
I think that
answer?
Karen might want to join in on talk about that for a second.
Yeah, Karen, feel free.
Or what I just wanted to explain that one of the reasons why we have an environmental assessment, whereas that we spend a lot of time talking about the project, this is a study of the protection of our environment. And we already know that we're in a fragile area. Just taking the Bronx River itself, every time there's a project going on in construction, it's very difficult to measure all of the different parts that are going to harm the environment, not to mention the air quality and how the noise and all of those things, some of which are all new, brand new. As you can see, we didn't look at that whole thing. We never even got the scope of work, which that's another criteria that we should have gotten. I think the agency needed to put us in the position, and we asked for that because we're the Bronx Council for Environmental Quality, and we do environmental reviews all the time. But we asked for that, and we never got it. So it's very critical because this is the time where you look at the impact on the environment.
Thank you, Karen. We'll take Hannah Simpson's question next.
Hi, I'm with the New York City News Service. David mentioned that the risk to tree canopy is still significant. So I'm wondering how significant this is and if it's one of the main air quality concerns at this stage of the review.
I would say it's unclear because there's different options and we haven't had the time to review. The tree canopy is something that really matters to us as folks who care for green spaces and obviously the river. But there are other air quality impacts on how the project is implemented, the actual rebuilding of the Cross Bronx and how that is done is something that we are looking carefully at and want to have the time to review the EA and assess that.
I want to just add that trees, we're in some of the hottest areas in our city. We have literal what is called heat island effect. And there are seniors and people who are vulnerable in our neighborhood who are more at risk to literally die from heat-related incidents So tree canopies not only provide a long list of things, but as a sustainability and a infrastructure, they cool our neighborhoods, and it's really important that we do that more instead of less right now.
Thank you both. I see we have Mona. Mona, you can feel free to unmute.
Thank you. Thank you guys for doing this. I know that, it's 6,000 pages and you haven't had time to like read and digest everything yet. I'm just wondering broadly with the three alternatives presented, like, are there any, like, do you have any more specific thoughts? Are certain alternatives more egregious than others, to you right off the bat? Yeah.
Well, I think we have a genuine concern with anything that expands the footprint of the Cross Bronx. That includes, expansion for shoulders, expansion for shared use paths, particularly because they have an impact underneath the expressway, but also because we understand that, that is future capacity that could be, permitted down the road to increase the volume of vehicles on the expressways and by extension, the volume of air pollution in the community.
Hopefully that answers it all for you, Mona. I see we have Sadie. Sadie, you can go ahead and unmute.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually have two things, one clarification and then one question. So to clarify, Siddhartha, when you say an expansion of shoulders, from my conversations with the state DOT, they have told me that due to the federal regulations, that because of I guess, sorry, federal regulations, any work that they're doing on the highways would need to bring the Bronx up to some sort of code, which means that they would have to legally expand the shoulders by a certain amount, which would by default uh, expand the footprint by a certain number of footage. And I'm wondering if the Stop the Cross Bronx Expressway coalition has, I guess, any research to the contrary, but also my second question is, when we're talking about expanding the commentary period to, I think, what is it, 90 days?
Yes.
This is something that I've seen not just in this project in the Bronx, but in sort of like multiple projects. And I guess I'm kind of wondering, in environmental justice communities, in areas where, you know, people don't have the finances, the free time, the resources to spend additional time, money, and effort to go through these documents, to advocate for themselves, to employ lawyers, things like that, uh, during these comment periods, and do all these extra things. Like, does the state and the city, does that like engagement, does the public engagement campaign, does that need to look different? Just like fundamentally, does that need to look different?
Yes,
Period.
Sadie. Absolutely. I put in the chat. I'm on a regular basis signing on to letters, advocating for more comment, for more time to comment. And not just like with DOT, with any of these comment periods, every single time we have a certain amount of time or these things are scheduled, we are faced with advocating for more time. And so we obviously would love, would love to talk about how can we, as a rule, uh, not do these not make these deadlines happen during the last days of school when everybody's going to graduation or leaving for summer break, and not to do it during the holidays, and to generally give us more time to address it. It's only going to make our comments better. It's only going to make our engagement better if we're not rushing and spending the time that we should be spending on solutions and figuring it out and going through the document. We're spending advocating for more time because we know that we need more time. So yes.
And I would add that, Daniela is doing this in the context of the South Bronx with communities, to your point, Sadie, that do have, a significant amount of barriers to commenting and being involved. And so, resourcing our community, at least at a minimum, through time, through allowing more time is what the most basic level of ask that we can make. But yes, to your point, Sadie, there are many other things that should be happening in terms of how the state and other agencies engage and run these public comment periods.
Yeah, just briefly also, Sadie, thank you so much. On the first question, there are always other options, right? Robert Moses had other options, and the state of New York has other options, and they need to be fully vetted. That's why we'd like to see, other alternatives analyzed, and that's why, we'd like to know if those are the federal standards. Are there rationales for waivers from those standards? Are there rationales for lane reductions, speed restrictions, right, with automated enforcement if it's a safety concern? There are always ways around making a problem worse, which is what widening the Cross Bronx so clearly represents.
And Danny, you're speaking about the shoulders.
That's exactly right.
Okay. Thank you.
And also, you're supposed to choose the project that the alternative, you're supposed to choose the alternative that has the least impact on the environment. You don't just choose your favorite alternative. And I would just like to add that one of the things that bothers us at the Bronx Council for Environmental Quality, we handle the whole Bronx, is that we have these discharges from highways that are going into our waterways all over. And if they're going to stick to a way of handling things, then we don't want any discharge into the river or any pipe that's going to overcharge into the river, or even anything. They shouldn't even be sending it into the sewer treatment plants because they're at capacity at this point now. And all of these things have to be studied by each individual person that knows about all of these different things. So they can't say they're going to be required to do the shoulders and then not take care of dumping water into our rivers and streams.
Mm-hmm. I just want to mention, Karen, what Karen is talking about has happened very recently. So we're not talking about imagine what ifs. We're talking about we have video evidence of construction happening and large debris falling into the Bronx River, and like that not being preventable or prevented. But the
can't even stop it.
We just showed this is why we need more time. Senator Gustavo said breaking up the chunks, but I want us to really think about what that means. Some of us know about trees. Some of us know about the river. Some of us know about transportation. Some of us know about the federal government and laws. Some of us know, you know what I mean? And so the only way to truly respond and process this is not just to read this document, but to understand this document, to discuss it, to figure out who are the right people that know the stuff that we need to know. And that puts us at a disadvantage to respond. We are the experts, but the processes that are created for us to respond and for us to participate are actually processes that are not meant for us to truly be able to participate. And so again, in assuming best intentions, let's say that our state DOT really does want to get this right and really does want to give us the opportunity to participate in this, our own such a big decision in our own community. Then that means that we need that is exactly the reason why we need this time.
Sadie Brown, I saw you had a hand up. This would be our last question if you still want to ask it.
Oh,
Still.
yeah. Well, speaking of the dumping previously, I was just wondering if anyone knew who the developer was on the previous project because I've been trying to find that out.
Well, the contractor was, a vendor with the State Department of Transportation, so it should be in the public record, and they definitely would know who it is.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking in I guess in the city records, but it was a few years ago, so it's not in I guess it would be like archived. I don't know.
It's not
And
going to be, it's not going to be in the city record. It was a state project.
oh yeah, I
So
guess.
this, and I don't know that the state would actually list the contractor, but it was there, and not only was it there, but we couldn't stop it. It just was, it was a sin against nature, really.
I asked DOT. They did not tell me.
Right. They also may have had multiple contractors. I think that's a good point in the chat.
Mm.
Okay, well, it looks like that was the last of our questions. Thank you all for joining us and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you.